78% of Americans are living paycheck to paycheck right now. That's nearly 8 out of 10 people who are one emergency away from financial disaster. And if you're watching this video, chances are you're feeling that pressure too. But what if I told you that in just 6 months, you could break this cycle for good? In this video, I'm following 2 real people, a freelance designer buried in credit card debt and a corporate manager with a 6-figure salary but empty savings, as they transform their finances using strategies that actually work. You'll discover the exact system that helped them go from financial chaos to control without the false promises. The financial trap most people can't escape. Did you know the average American spends 33 years of their life stuck in the paycheck-to-paycheck cycle? That's basically your entire adult life. It's like being on a financial treadmill, running your heart out but never actually getting anywhere. Just working, paying bills, maybe treating yourself occasionally, then starting the whole exhausting process over again when the next paycheck hits. Let me introduce you to Maya and James, 2 people who probably feel a lot like you right now. Maya's a freelance graphic designer with talent but unpredictable income, alternating between prosperity and financial anxiety. James has a steady corporate job bringing in $65,000 a year, yet despite this regular income, his bank account reflects a troubling reality with virtually no savings. Their numbers tell a compelling story. Maya's struggling with $15,000 in credit card debt across multiple cards with sky-high interest rates. Each month, she makes minimum payments and watches the interest accumulate while barely making a dent in the principal. James, though debt-free, sees his bank account approach zero before each payday, a puzzling financial reality that doesn't align with his income potential. The emotional cost is devastating. Maya describes it with raw vulnerability. I get anxiety attacks when checking my bank balance, like walking into a pitch-black room where anything could be waiting. I leave bills unopened for days because I'm terrified to face what I owe. Last month, I had a full panic attack in the grocery store when my card got declined for a $42 purchase. James's experience differs but carries similar weight. The worst is when friends invite me out and I have to invent excuses. I've claimed illness or late work countless times because I can't afford to join them, but I'm too embarrassed to admit the truth. People assume my good job means I'm financially secure. These 2 represent opposite sides of the same broken financial coin. Maya's income creates chaos and unpredictability, while James's steady paycheck provides a false sense of security. Different symptoms, same disease, both are financially unwell in their own ways. Maya battles obvious financial challenges with credit card debt, while James slowly sinks despite appearing to stand on solid ground. What keeps them, and probably you, trapped in this cycle? Powerful psychological factors are at work. Maya operates from what financial psychologists call a scarcity mindset. When money arrives, she splurges after periods of deprivation, perpetuating a feast or famine pattern. James exemplifies lifestyle inflation. His expenses expand to consume every raise, leaving him confused about where his money disappears despite his substantial income. Financial freedom for them isn't about extravagance. Real freedom means having options. For Maya, it means declining toxic clients because she has adequate savings. For James, it means considering career changes without panic thanks to a financial cushion. Both could check their bank accounts with curiosity rather than dread. Financial freedom means having sufficient security that money ceases to be a constant source of stress. The encouraging news? We've developed a 6-month transformation framework that worked for both Maya and James despite their different situations. This systematic approach addresses both practical financial strategies and psychological barriers that keep people trapped. It doesn't require doubling your income or extreme frugality. The significance is profound. 78% of Americans currently live paycheck to paycheck. That's nearly 4 out of 5 people, one emergency away from financial disaster. Even 36% of those earning over $100,000 annually live paycheck to paycheck. Clearly, increased income alone doesn't solve the problem. The core issue is a combination of financial illiteracy, psychological triggers, and outdated money habits. Our education system teaches algebra for years but neglects compound interest or credit scores. Our brains contain money biases that served our ancestors but undermine us in today's economy. Most of us inherited financial habits from family that worked in their generation, but fail in current economic realities. Consider Maya's background. She grew up watching her mother hide bills and constantly hearing phrases like, "We can't afford that," or "money doesn't grow on trees." These experiences programmed her to view money as scarce and frightening. Even when her freelance career started generating decent income, she operated from that foundation of fear and scarcity. James had different but equally harmful conditioning. His parents maintained appearances at all costs, nice house, cars, vacations, while secretly drowning in debt. He internalized the belief that appearing successful outweighed actual financial security. Unconsciously, he repeats their pattern, earning well but spending everything to maintain a lifestyle that impresses others. Our transformation framework addresses both practical financial strategies and these deeper psychological patterns. The truth most financial experts won't admit: following budgeting advice is futile if you don't address your money psychology. You'll continue self-sabotage. This framework helped Maya eliminate $9,000 of credit card debt in 6 months while building her first emergency fund. James progressed from zero savings to over $7,500 plus retirement contributions his future self will appreciate. The most significant changes, however, weren't financial, they were psychological. Maya no longer panics when checking her accounts, and James finally feels in control of his financial future rather than heading unconsciously toward disaster. Month 1, the honest financial diagnosis. The journey to financial freedom started with something that had both Maya and James cringing like they were watching a horror movie, a brutally honest money tracking experiment. Ever wonder why we avoid looking at our bank statements? The psychological reason might surprise you, and it's the exact thing keeping your wallet on life support. That uncomfortable feeling in your stomach when you check your balance isn't random. Research shows it's tied to something called financial avoidance anxiety, which affects nearly 60% of Americans. Basically, your brain would rather remain blissfully ignorant than face potentially stressful financial realities. For Maya and James, month 1 meant no more hiding. They committed to tracking every transaction for 30 straight days. No rounding up, it was only a couple bucks, and definitely no conveniently forgetting purchases they felt guilty about. Maya downloaded a spending tracker app, while James, being more old school, carried around a small notebook. Each night, they'd record everything and categorize it. Simple in theory, but in practice, it felt like wearing shoes filled with pebbles. Constant, unavoidable discomfort. By day 3, James was already experiencing what financial psychologists call spending awareness shock. He texted Maya, "Just added up my lunch expenses, $74 this week alone. I bring lunch from home maybe twice a month. What am I doing?" Meanwhile, Maya discovered she had been spending an average of $14 daily on coffee and snacks. That's over $400 monthly on things she barely remembered consuming. The real awakening came at the 2-week mark. James stared at his spending tracker in disbelief. "I spent $420 on food delivery in just 14 days. $420. And honestly, I can only specifically remember like 3 of those meals." For context, that's nearly 8% of his monthly take-home pay vanishing on forgettable delivery food. When he calculated how many hours he had to work to pay for those meals, the math was sobering. Maya's financial autopsy revealed something equally troubling. "I have 11 subscription services active right now," she exclaimed during their weekly check-in call. The grand total, $187 monthly, disappearing automatically from her accounts, while she was actively stressing about making minimum payments on her credit cards. What transformed this process from simple budgeting was the Money Truth Journal, a technique they implemented alongside their spending tracking. This meant documenting not just what they bought, but how they felt before, during, and after each purchase. Maya noted, "Before buying new art supplies online, I felt anxious about a client deadline. During purchase, excited and relieved. After, guilty and more anxious than before." This emotional mapping helped her recognize how anxiety triggered spending which then created more anxiety, a pattern she could now interrupt. James noticed he ordered delivery most often between 7 to 9 p.m. on weeknights when he felt too tired to cook after work. The food itself wasn't even the reward, it was the relief of not having to make another decision at the end of a long day. Maya's coffee shop visits peaked on mornings after working late on freelance projects. It wasn't about the caffeine, it was her way of rewarding herself for the extra work. I felt physically ill when I realized I was spending more on fancy coffee than I was putting toward my credit card debt, Maya admitted. Her highest interest card had a minimum payment of $86, while her coffee habit was costing her over $100 more than that each month. This revelation transformed how she viewed her morning ritual, from innocent pleasure to active obstacle. The most powerful tool they used during this month was something called the financial reality check, a simple calculation that changed how they viewed every purchase. They calculated their true hourly wage, not the number on their paycheck, but what they actually brought home after taxes and work-related expenses. For James, his $65,000 salary worked out to about $21 per hour in actual take-home pay. For Maya, with her irregular freelance income, she averaged roughly $24 an hour after expenses during good months. This reality check meant James now saw his $18 delivered burger and fries as almost an hour of my life. That $420 on food delivery? That translated to 20 hours of his life, half a work week, spent on food he couldn't even remember eating. There was this one night where I was about to order a $26 dinner, James recalled. Then I thought, this will cost me more than an hour of my life. I ended up making a sandwich instead and felt weirdly powerful, like I had just given myself an hour of freedom. Maya had a similar revelation with her subscription services. Those monthly recurring charges equated to almost 8 hours of her work life each month, an entire workday, going towards services she barely used. I immediately canceled 7 of them and saved myself like 3 hours of work each month. It's like I gave myself a mini raise just by clicking some cancellation buttons. The tracking experiment also exposed phantom expenses, regular costs so automatic they no longer registered them. James discovered he was still paying $14.99 monthly for a gym membership he hadn't used in over a year. Maya found she was paying for cloud storage on 3 different services. Their financial autopsies revealed 3 major psychological triggers, keeping them trapped in the paycheck-to-paycheck cycle. First was the dopamine hit of retail therapy. Maya noticed she was most likely to make impulse purchases when feeling stressed about work deadlines or after client rejections. Those purchases provided a quick mood boost, but actually worsened her financial stress later. Second was social comparison. James realized he spent more when hanging out with higher-earning friends, trying to maintain the appearance of financial equality. Third was the false security of available credit. Both had fallen into the trap of thinking available credit meant available money. I caught myself thinking, I have $2,000 left on this card, as if that was money I actually had, Maya admitted. By the end of those 30 days, both had comprehensive spending records that revealed patterns they'd never noticed before. The experience was uncomfortable, even painful at times, but it provided something invaluable, a baseline truth about their financial reality. It was like turning on the lights in a room I'd been stumbling around in for years, James said. Sure, I saw some messes I'd been ignoring, but at least now I could see what needed cleaning up. This brutal financial honesty became the foundation for everything that followed. Without understanding the bleeding, they couldn't stop it. Without recognizing the patterns, they couldn't change them. Month 2. Debt destruction and bill reduction. After mapping their financial reality, Maya and James faced the scariest number of all, 27 years. That's how long Maya would remain in debt, making minimum payments on her credit cards. The revelation hit her like a truck. She'd be nearly retirement age before paying off purchases she was making now. The solution wasn't about working harder or cutting more expenses. It involved a phone call, the right words, and a strategic approach to debt that would change everything. Maya's situation was grim. Her 5 credit cards carried interest rates that bordered on criminal. Her highest card sat at a jaw-dropping 26%, with the others at 24%, 22%, 20%, and 18%. She'd been treating minimum payments like achievements, not realizing she was basically treading water in a lake that kept getting deeper. James faced a different money leak. Going through his bank statements, he discovered he was hemorrhaging cash on services he barely used or could get cheaper elsewhere. His cable package included channels he never watched. His phone plan had features he didn't need, and his insurance premiums hadn't been reviewed in years. "I've been paying these bills on autopilot for so long that I stopped questioning them," James admitted. "It never occurred to me that these companies expect you to negotiate, or that they build their pricing models assuming most people won't bother." The first step in their month 2 plan was introducing them to the debt avalanche method. Unlike the debt snowball approach, which focuses on paying off the smallest debts first for psychological wins, the avalanche tackles highest interest debts first, mathematically saving the most money over time. Maya organized her cards from highest to lowest interest rate and concentrated all her extra cash on that 26% monster while making minimum payments on everything else. This simple reordering would eventually save her thousands in interest payments. The breakthrough moment came when Maya picked up the phone to call her credit card companies. It felt like approaching a locked vault that had seemed impenetrable for years. With trembling fingers, she followed a specific script. "Hello, I've been a customer for X years, and I've received several balance transfer offers from other cards at significantly lower rates. I'd prefer to stay with you, but the interest rate is making it difficult. Is there any way you could lower my interest rate?" The vault door swung open immediately. 3 of her 5 card companies offered rate reductions ranging from 4 to 7 percentage points. The company behind her worst offender, the 26% card, dropped her rate to 19% in a 10-minute conversation. This simple act slashed approximately $2,300 from the interest she would have paid. "I was literally shaking after that first call," Maya said. "I'd been paying these ridiculous rates for years because I was too intimidated to ask for better terms. That one conversation was worth over $2,000 to me." The fear she'd felt dialing the number had transformed into a powerful sense of agency. She was no longer at the mercy of these institutions. James attacked his money leaks with equal determination. His service audit technique revealed he was significantly overpaying for services bringing minimal value. His calls to providers yielded remarkable results: $45 monthly from cable, $35 from his phone plan, and $240 quarterly from switching insurance companies. "The craziest part was how easy it was," James explained. "These companies have entire departments dedicated to keeping customers. They'd rather give you a discount than lose you completely." While negotiating bills created immediate cash flow, Maya implemented an aggressive decluttering campaign for a debt payoff bomb. Her forgotten camera equipment, designer clothes, and unused furniture brought in over $1,400, all directed to her highest interest card. "I was converting stuff I never used into financial freedom," Maya noted. "Each item I sold represented future interest payments I'd never have to make." James discovered the downgrade, don't eliminate principle. Instead of canceling services entirely, he downgraded to ad-supported streaming tiers and a basic gym plan, saving $45 monthly without significant lifestyle sacrifice. By finding reasonable substitutes rather than eliminating categories completely, he made his financial changes sustainable. The psychological impact proved as valuable as the financial benefits. Maya created a visual debt tracker on her wall, coloring portions of a chart as she reduced her principal. James implemented a savings victory account, where he transferred the exact amount saved from each negotiation, watching his freed-up money accumulate. By month's end, Maya had eliminated her smallest card completely and made significant progress on her highest interest debt. James had freed up $320 monthly through negotiation and service optimization. The key insight they gained was that financial relationships are negotiable. Maya's transformed approach to minimum payments was striking. She calculated that her previous payment approach on just one card would have resulted in $4,800 of purchases, eventually costing over $13,000 with interest. By directing resources strategically and reducing rates, she shortened her repayment timeline from decades to months. They also learned the power of the windfall allocation formula, a predetermined plan for unexpected money. Maya committed to putting 70% of extra income directly toward debt elimination, 20% to emergency savings, and 10% for enjoyment to prevent burnout. For James, the revelation was his invisible expense audit, identifying costs that had become so normalized he no longer questioned them. By treating every recurring expense as negotiable, he discovered that companies had built customer inertia into their business models. They're literally banking on you not paying attention, James explained. The moment you show them you're awake, the whole dynamic changes. Both discovered that financial institutions respond to confidence. The simple act of asking with conviction yielded results that seemed impossible before they tried. By month's end, Maya had reduced her overall debt by nearly $3,600, and James had created $320 in monthly cash flow and established his first emergency fund. Month 3. Income optimization and side hustles. With their debt starting to shrink, Maya and James faced their next financial reality check. Both were completely dependent on single income sources that kept them financially vulnerable. What if I told you that the average millionaire has 7 income streams, not because they're rich, but because multiple income sources are actually what made them wealthy in the first place? Maya's freelance graphic design work resembled a financial roller coaster. One month she'd rake in $600, and the next she'd barely clear $2,300. This unpredictable cycle kept her constantly stressed, even as her debt reduction strategy was working. The scariest part? She realized that 60% of her income came from just one client, a startup that could cut her off with a single email. James faced a different but equally limiting problem. His corporate salary provided comforting predictability, but imposed an income ceiling. His annual performance reviews typically resulted in a standard 3% raise, barely keeping pace with inflation. He calculated that waiting for promotions meant at least another decade in the paycheck-to-paycheck cycle. I remember looking at my client list and feeling like I was walking a tightrope without a safety net, Maya told me. If my biggest client decided to hire an in-house designer, I'd lose over half my income overnight. That realization hit me like a ton of bricks. To address her income instability, Maya developed her income stabilization system. First, she implemented retainer agreements with 3 regular clients, guaranteeing a baseline monthly income of $3,200 before taking on additional projects. One client initially hesitated, but quickly agreed when Maya explained how the arrangement ensured she'd prioritize their work each month. For new clients, Maya instituted a 50% deposit requirement before starting any project, immediately improving her cash flow. None of my clients pushed back on the deposit requirement, Maya explained. It actually made me look more professional. The most significant change came from her client diversification plan. Maya set a rule that no single client would represent more than 25% of her income. She identified 3 new industry niches where her design skills would be valuable: law firms needing brand refreshes, health practitioners requiring patient education materials, and local restaurants needing menu designs. While Maya stabilized her existing business, James took a different approach. He started with a skills inventory exercise where he listed every marketable skill from his corporate job, personal interests, and previous work experience. I was shocked when I ended up with a list of 32 distinct skills, James said. I'd been thinking of myself as just a guy who works in operations, but when I broke it down, I realized I had expertise in data analysis, process optimization, vendor management, Excel modeling, and dozens of other transferable skills. The exercise revealed James had become particularly adept at building complex data dashboards, a skill that small business owners would value but couldn't afford a full-time employee to handle. This insight led to his first side hustle, creating customized data analysis systems for small businesses. James approached his side business methodically, researching pricing models in the market. He settled on a tiered package system: $650 for a basic dashboard setup, $950 for an intermediate system with more automated features, and $1,400 for a comprehensive solution. By dedicating just Friday evenings and Sunday afternoons, about 5 hours weekly, James landed 2 clients in his first month and 3 more by the end of month 3. The first client came from just mentioning what I was doing to my sister's friend who owns a boutique, James explained. Word of mouth brought me the next 4. Small business owners are desperate for affordable ways to understand their numbers. Maya tackled another limitation, her pricing. After researching industry rates, she realized she'd been significantly undercharging. Rather than just raising rates across the board, she implemented value-based pricing. Instead of quoting hourly rates, Maya focused on business outcomes her designs delivered. A logo design became brand identity that would represent the business for years. Website redesigns became conversion optimization that would generate more sales. When I started talking about how my work would increase their customer engagement by 30% or help them stand out from competitors, pricing discussions completely changed, Maya said. I raised my effective rates by 20% within 2 months, and clients understood the value they were getting. Within a month, Maya had 4 new clients, each representing 10 to 20% of her income, and had transitioned 2 existing clients to retainer agreements. Her monthly income increased by 35%, with dramatically improved stability. James's progress was equally impressive. By the 3rd month, he was generating $1,200 in additional monthly income from 5 small business clients, requiring just 5 weekend hours. Once the initial dashboards were built, maintenance required minimal time, making the income nearly passive. The moment I deposited that first side hustle check was when everything changed for me, psychologically, James reflected. For the first time in my adult life, I wasn't dependent on a single employer. That feeling of having options was honestly more valuable than the money itself. Both created tracking spreadsheets to visualize their progress. Maya's showed the distribution across clients, a vivid reminder she was no longer dependent on any single source. James tracked his primary salary and side income, watching as his side hustle grew to 18% of his total monthly income in just 3 months. The psychological impact extended beyond financial benefits. Maya felt significantly less anxiety about client feedback, knowing that losing any single client wouldn't devastate her finances. James described newfound confidence in meetings with his manager, no longer feeling that speaking up might jeopardize his entire financial security. Neither found that their additional income efforts consumed their lives. Maya's system actually gave her more predictable working hours. James's 5 weekend hours were focused and time-boxed, leaving plenty of room for relaxation. For both, realizing that income diversification doesn't require massive time investments was transformative. Maya restructured how she offered her design. Month 4, building the money cushion. Now that they weren't drowning in financial problems, Maya and James faced the uncomfortable truth most Americans share. They were just one unexpected expense away from financial disaster. What's wild is that the solution wasn't about earning more money, but completely flipping how they thought about saving in the first place. I remember the exact moment I realized how vulnerable I still was, Maya told me, scrolling through her newly organized budget spreadsheet. My income was stabilizing and my debt was shrinking, but if my laptop died tomorrow, I'd be right back to maxing out credit cards. James nodded in agreement across the table. Same here. I calculated that despite my steady paycheck and new side income, I couldn't handle even a $1,200 emergency without completely derailing everything we'd built. This financial tightrope walk is startlingly common. A Federal Reserve survey shows that 56% of Americans couldn't cover a surprise $1,000 expense without borrowing money. This statistic translates to real life in alarming ways. It means the average person might avoid necessary medical care, delay car maintenance, or accumulate high-interest debt simply because of a minor appliance failure or an unexpected bill. Maya's pattern was painfully familiar. She'd enthusiastically transfer money to savings after a good month, only to raid that account weeks later when temptation or a small emergency struck. I treated my savings account like a slightly inconvenient extension of my checking account, she admitted. Any money that went in there was mentally still available for spending. James had his own savings blind spot. I always planned to save whatever was left at the end of the month, he explained with a sheepish grin, but somehow, magically, there was never anything left. His spending expanded to consume whatever was in his account, a phenomenon financial psychologists call the mental accounting bias, where money that's visible becomes money that's available to spend. The breakthrough came when their financial coach introduced them to reverse budgeting, a completely backward approach to how most people think about saving. Like paying your most essential employee, yourself, before the daily demands of business consume all resources, this method prioritizes future security above current wants. The first dollars out of every paycheck or client payment now go straight to savings, before I even see them in my main account, James explained. He set up his direct deposit to automatically divert 15% of each paycheck into a separate high-yield savings account at a different bank entirely. The psychological trick is, I never see that money hit my checking account, so I never feel like I'm giving up something I had. Maya, with her irregular income stream, created a different system, but with the same principle. Every payment that comes in, I immediately move a percentage to savings. 20% of every client check goes straight to my emergency fund before I allocate anything else. What made this approach stick was the automation and mental reframing. I started thinking of it as paying my future self first before any other bill. They both adopted the 72-hour purchase rule, a powerful circuit breaker for impulse spending. Any non-essential purchase over $100 went on a digital waiting list for 3 full days. This simple delay created dramatic results. When Maya spotted a $300 stand mixer she was certain she absolutely needed, the waiting period allowed her rational mind to regain control. 3 days later, she couldn't even remember why she wanted it. The emotional urgency had completely disappeared, saving her money and preventing buyer's remorse. Both implemented the 50-30-20 rule to structure their monthly cash flow, a framework that proved surprisingly flexible across their different income situations. The rule designates 50% of income for needs, 30% for wants, and 20% for savings and additional debt payments. For Maya, with her $4,200 monthly income, this meant $2,100 went to essential needs, $1,260 to quality of life wants, and $840 to savings and accelerated debt paydown. James applied the same framework to his combined income of $5,800 monthly after taxes, allocating $2,900 for needs, $1,740 for wants, and $1,160 for savings. What I love about this system is that I don't feel guilty about spending on things I enjoy, as long as I stay within my wants allocation, he explained. The most remarkable transformation was in their emotional relationship with money. I used to feel physical anxiety whenever an unexpected expense came up, Maya shared. Like my chest would tighten and I'd immediately start calculating which bill I could pay late. The turning point came just 3 months into their new system, when Maya's car needed an $800 brake repair. In the past, that would have sent me into a panic spiral and straight to my credit cards. Instead, I actually felt this weird sense of calm. I had the money sitting in my emergency fund. That's literally what it was there for. For James, the psychological freedom came from watching his emergency fund grow past the $1,000 mark for the first time in his adult life. It was like I could finally breathe easier. By month 4, he had accumulated just over $300, enough to cover nearly 2 months of essential expenses if needed. Their approach completely changed how they evaluated spending decisions. Instead of the impulsive, "Can I afford this right now?" question, they started asking, "Is this worth the trade-off?" Maya demonstrated this when deciding against upgrading her phone. The new model would have cost $1,100. Now I asked if that $100 served me better in my emergency fund or as an accelerated debt payment. The answer was obvious. By the end of their 4th month, Maya had built her first ever $2,400 emergency fund while continuing to pay down her high-interest debt. James had accumulated $3,200 in his emergency savings and was sleeping better at night. I realize now that saving isn't about deprivation. It's about security and options, Maya reflected. Having that emergency fund means I get to make choices from a position of security rather than desperation. Month 5. Investing Foundations for Beginners. That newfound financial security was a game changer, but Maya and James were still missing out on the single most powerful wealth-building tool available to ordinary people. "I always thought investing was for rich people or financial geniuses," Maya admitted, scrolling through her banking app. "Then I learned the shocking truth about what just $25 a week could become over time." The math was undeniable. That small $25 weekly investment, about the cost of a pizza delivery, could grow to over $165,000 by retirement age, thanks to compound interest. Like planting a tiny seed that eventually grows into a mighty oak tree, these small contributions would branch out and multiply over decades. It was the kind of number that made both Maya and James stop scrolling through their phones and pay attention. But despite the compelling math, they both found themselves frozen when it came to actually starting. For Maya, the fear was visceral. "What if I lose everything I put in?" she worried. The market crashed in 2008 and again in 2020. What if I invest and another crash happens right after? Her freelancer mindset made her especially cautious. Every dollar felt hard-earned, and the thought of watching those dollars disappear in a market downturn felt unbearable. While Maya's concerns centered on potential losses, James faced a different challenge altogether. He was drowning in options. "I kept hearing about hot stocks and crypto millionaires," he explained. "Then there were ETFs, mutual funds, bonds, and all these terms like dollar-cost averaging that I didn't understand. I'd open Invests, get overwhelmed, and close them without doing anything." His perfectionism kept him paralyzed, afraid of making the wrong investment choice. Their money coach suggested they start with what she called investment training wheels, micro-investing apps that would let them start with literally pocket change. Unlike traditional brokerages that once required thousands to open an account, these apps allowed them to begin with as little as $5. For Maya, this dramatically lowered the psychological barrier. She could start without feeling like she was risking her financial security. "I downloaded Acorns and set it to round up my purchases to the nearest dollar and invest the difference," Maya explained. "My coffee, that cost $4.25, would trigger a 75-cent investment. It was so small I barely noticed it, but it got me comfortable with the idea that my money was in the market." Within 3 weeks, she had unconsciously invested about $40 without feeling any pain. James took a slightly different approach with a set-it-and-forget-it strategy. "I started with $25 automatic weekly transfers into a robo-advisor account," he said. "The app asked me some questions about my goals and risk tolerance, then built a diversified portfolio automatically. No research or stock picking required." This hands-off approach bypassed his analysis paralysis entirely. The real breakthrough for James came when he finally examined his workplace 401k plan. He'd been contributing the minimum 3% to get some of his employer's match, but he was leaving free money on the table. "My company offered to match up to 6% of my salary," James said, still shaking his head at his previous oversight. "By not contributing the full amount, I was basically refusing a raise." When James ran the numbers, the reality was stark. By increasing his contribution from 3% to 6%, he'd get an additional $1,950 annually in employer matching, essentially a 100% guaranteed return on his investment before the market even did anything. This was like finding money growing on that investment tree immediately. For Maya, as a freelancer, retirement options came in the form of a SEP IRA. "I can contribute up to 25% of my net self-employment income," she explained. "It's tax-deductible now, grows tax-free until retirement, and I can set it up myself." The tax advantages meant every $100 she contributed effectively cost her only about $78 after tax savings, a significant upfront benefit. Both James and Maya embraced what their coach called the "boring is beautiful" investing strategy, focusing on low-cost index funds rather than trying to pick winning stocks or time the market. "I wanted to invest in companies I knew, like Apple and Tesla," James admitted. "But I learned that even professional money managers fail to beat market averages more than 80% of the time." Instead, they focused on broad market index funds with extremely low expense ratios, annual fees that silently eat away at investment returns. Their portfolios included a mix of total market funds, international stocks, and appropriate bond allocations. Their coach showed them a simple growth chart. $200 invested monthly would grow to approximately $12,000 in 5 years, $32,000 in 10 years, $90,000 in 20 years, and potentially $350,000 in 30 years, assuming historical average returns. This visual representation transformed compound interest from an abstract concept to something tangible. The early returns weren't dramatic. Some weeks their accounts went up, others they went down. But something powerful was happening to their mindset. I used to check my investment account daily, sometimes hourly, Maya confessed. Every dip would send me into a panic, but after a few months, I understood that daily fluctuations are just noise. James noticed a shift in how he viewed money. Before, I saw money as something to spend or save. Now I see it as something that can work for me, he explained. Even when I'm sleeping, my investments are potentially growing. Perhaps the most important lesson was understanding that investing success comes from time in the market, not timing the market. I used to think successful investors were people who knew when to buy and sell, Maya said. Now I understand that consistent investing over decades, regardless of market conditions, is what actually builds wealth. Their approach wasn't about getting rich quick, it was about getting rich eventually. By month 5, Maya had approximately $650 invested through her micro-investing app and had made her first $1,000 contribution to her CP IRA. James had increased his 401k contribution and had about $800 in his separate investment account. But the foundation they were building was far more valuable than those initial numbers suggested. They had developed investing systems that would continue working automatically for decades, transforming from people who worked for money into people whose money was beginning to work for them. Month 6, Lifestyle Redesign for Financial Freedom. While their money had started working for them, Maya and James now faced the most underrated financial challenge of all, their own daily habits. The reality is that the average American makes over 35,000 decisions every single day, with about 70 of those directly impacting their financial future. Most people never even notice these critical money moments happening until their bank account reminds them at the end of the month. I've tried changing my money habits before, Maya admitted during our final month meeting. The problem was never knowing what to do. It was sticking with it long enough for it to actually work. Every time I'd get motivated, make a budget, and follow it perfectly for like 2 weeks. Then life would happen, I'd slip up once, feel guilty, and completely abandon ship. James nodded in agreement. It's exactly like fitness resolutions in January. The gym is packed, then suddenly empty by February. I didn't want our financial transformation to become another abandoned resolution. Their concern wasn't unfounded. Studies show that 80% of people eventually revert to their old financial patterns after initially making positive changes. The phenomenon is called financial diet fatigue, where financial transformations collapse when they rely solely on willpower rather than smart systems. The first thing we did, Maya explained, was identify our personal money triggers, those specific situations, emotions, or environments that consistently led to poor financial decisions. Maya discovered that professional stress triggered shopping as a reward mechanism, while James found social media comparisons prompted his impulse purchases. Instead of attempting to avoid these triggers, they created customized money shields, pre-planned responses they could activate when triggered. Maya established an alternative reward system, scheduling free activities that brought her joy instead of shopping. For stressful workdays, she pre-booked evening walks with friends, free museum nights, or home spa sessions using products she already owned. James took a different approach with his social media trigger. He installed a browser extension that replaced his Instagram and Facebook feeds with his financial goals and progress charts after 20 minutes of scrolling. It's like having a mini financial intervention right when I'm most vulnerable to impulse spending, he laughed. Seeing my progress immediately breaks the comparison spiral. What truly revolutionized their relationship with money was James's value-based spending plan. Unlike traditional budgets that focus on restriction, his approach asked, "What expenses consistently bring me genuine happiness, and which ones leave me feeling empty afterward?" The results surprised him. I realized I was spending almost nothing on the things that genuinely improved my life, while blowing hundreds on stuff that gave me a 2-minute dopamine hit followed by buyer's remorse. His concert tickets, which he'd previously felt guilty about, actually provided weeks of anticipation joy, the event experience itself, and happy memories afterward. Meanwhile, his random Amazon purchases often sat unused after the initial unboxing excitement. This insight led him to intentionally increase spending in high satisfaction categories while eliminating low-value expenses. I actually spend more now on live music, cooking classes, and books, and I'm saving more overall because I cut out the endless forgettable purchases that were draining my account. Maya tackled sustainability differently through her financial freedom calendar, a system for scheduling regular money check-ins and celebration milestones. Every Sunday evening, I spend 15 minutes reviewing my week's spending and progress, she explained. And every month, I celebrate when I hit my targets. This calendar transformed her relationship with money by containing financial thinking to specific times, allowing her to enjoy life without constant money anxiety while staying consistently motivated through planned celebrations. Their most powerful sustainability tool was the conscious consumption filter, a simple 3-question process for non-essential purchases. First, will this purchase still bring me joy a month from now? Second, does this align with my stated financial priorities? And third, am I buying this because I truly want it or because of an external influence? It sounds simple, James admitted, but asking these questions created a tiny moment of pause that often broke the spell of impulsive spending. I was shocked how many purchases failed at least one of these questions. Maya found the third question particularly revealing. I realized about half my clothing purchases were motivated by social media influencers rather than my actual style preferences or needs. Once I recognized that pattern, those impulses lost their power over me. The brilliance of their approach wasn't eliminating fun spending or occasional splurges. It was designing systems, ensuring every dollar flowed intentionally toward their true priorities rather than leaking away through unconscious habits. By the end of month 6, their transformation was remarkable. Not only had their financial numbers dramatically improved, but their relationship with money had fundamentally shifted. For the first time in my adult life, Maya reflected, I feel like I'm in control of my money rather than my money controlling me. Their success came down to 3 fundamental shifts. First, conscious spending aligned with personal values, ensuring money flowed toward true sources of happiness. Second, strategic automation that removed willpower from the equation, making good financial decisions the default. And third, regular money dates that maintained awareness without obsession, creating a healthy relationship with finances. The surprising truth, Maya observed in our final session, is that the actions that most improved my financial health were the same ones that most improved my overall happiness. It wasn't about deprivation at all. It was about intentionality. What's most encouraging about their story is how replicable their methods are. The specific triggers, shields, and values will be different for everyone, but the framework works regardless of income level or starting point. Sustainable financial improvement doesn't require monk-like discipline or joyless frugality. It simply requires designing systems that align your spending with what truly matters to you. The transformation reveal by the numbers. Those systems didn't just change how Maya and James felt about money, they completely transformed their actual bank accounts. Would you believe that someone living paycheck to paycheck could build a substantial emergency fund in just 6 months without winning the lottery or living off ramen? Or that a freelancer buried in credit card debt could simultaneously pay off thousands while starting to invest? The spreadsheets don't lie, and the numbers we're about to cover might actually make your jaw drop. Let's look at the cold hard data, because financial transformation is about seeing actual change in your accounts. When Maya started this journey, her financial picture looked seriously grim. She had $97 in her checking account, $0 in savings, and credit card debt that created a negative net worth of $14,903. James wasn't drowning in debt like Maya, but his situation was equally precarious. $346 in his checking account, needed to stretch 2 more weeks until payday, no emergency savings, and minimal retirement contributions, just enough for some employer match. Have you ever wondered what 6 months of dedicated financial focus could do for your own accounts? Let's see what happened with Maya and James. The transformation is frankly stunning. Maya demolished almost $8,000 of debt while simultaneously building a $2,400 emergency fund and investing $650 in her SEP IRA and micro-investing apps. Her net worth improved by $12,400 in just 180 days. This financial buffer means she now sleeps better and experiences fewer anxiety episodes. She even declined a rush project from a difficult client because she no longer feels desperate for every dollar, a freedom she couldn't have imagined before. James built a cushion of $7,500 in his emergency fund from zero. He doubled his retirement contributions from 3% to 6%, capturing an additional $1,000 to $950 annually in employer match money. His data analysis side hustle now generates a consistent $1,200 monthly that goes straight toward wealth-building goals. All told, his net worth improved by $11,200 in 6 months. This new financial confidence allowed him to take his parents out for their anniversary dinner without stressing about the bill and plan his first actual vacation in 3 years, one that won't follow him home as credit card debt. Their cash flow improvements created these dramatic changes. Maya went from negative monthly cash flow to a positive monthly surplus of $840 through income stabilization and intentional spending. James increased his monthly positive cash flow from roughly $120, usually absorbed by random spending, to over $1,100 through bill negotiations, subscription audits, and side hustle income. What's particularly noteworthy is that neither received a windfall, inheritance, or dramatic salary increase. These improvements came entirely from optimizing resources they already had access to. Their monthly spending now follows clear structures. Maya operates on her adapted 50-30-20 rule: $2,100 to essentials, $1,260 to quality of life wants, and $840 to debt paydown and wealth building. James allocates $2,900 to necessities, $1,740 to intentional lifestyle choices, and $160 to financial growth. The compounding effects of these systems are exciting for their futures. Maya will be completely debt-free in another 7 months, not the 27 years her minimum payments would have taken. She'll then redirect her entire debt payoff allocation toward wealth building, potentially adding over $10,000 annually to investments. James will have a fully funded 6-month emergency fund, $18,000, within another 8 months. His wealth acceleration will then kick into overdrive as he diverts those funds toward investments. His side hustle shows signs of expansion, with clients already asking about additional services that could increase his monthly income by $400 to $600 with minimal extra time investment. In their own words, the transformation has been life-changing. Maya shared, "I used to literally feel my heart rate spike when I checked the mail, wondering which bills I couldn't pay. Now I actually look forward to my Sunday money check-ins because I get to see progress every single week." James put it this way, "The weird thing is, I don't actually feel like I'm sacrificing. I'm spending intentionally on things that actually make my life better, saving more than I ever have, and I finally feel like I'm building something rather than just surviving." Their monthly tracking reveals another fascinating pattern. The improvements are accelerating. Maya's first month showed a $450 positive change, while her 6th month recorded a $2,730 improvement. James saw similar acceleration from $1,320 in month 1 to $2,480 in month 6. This happens because financial improvements compound. Reduced debt means less interest paid, which means more available for debt reduction, creating a positive spiral. Their journeys weren't perfectly smooth. Maya had an unexpected $800 car repair, and James faced a temporary pay reduction during his company's slow quarter. The difference was they had systems to absorb these setbacks without derailing their entire financial trajectory. The formula that engineered these dramatic turnarounds combined 5 core elements. Systematic debt reduction, prioritizing highest interest obligations first, income optimization through better client management and side hustles, strategic automation that removed willpower from the equation, value-based spending realignments that eliminated waste without sacrificing quality of life, and basic investment contributions that put their money to work. What makes this powerful is how each element reinforces the others. Income optimization speeds debt reduction, which frees resources for saving, which provides security that reduces stress spending, which makes more resources, breaking the mental money chains. That positive feedback loop revolutionized their finances, but both Maya and James almost quit the entire process during month 2 when they hit the same invisible wall. Turns out, no amount of spreadsheets or side hustles can overcome the money scripts running in your mental background. Those sneaky little beliefs telling you this won't work for someone like me, or more money always means more problems. Let's talk about something wild that most financial experts completely ignore: the invisible mental programming controlling your money decisions. You can follow every budgeting tip, download every app, and double your income. But if your money mindset is broken, you'll still find yourself struggling financially. It's like upgrading to a sports car when your driving skills were formed on a bicycle. You'll just crash faster and more expensively. During month 5 of their journey, both Maya and James hit what psychologists call a financial identity crisis. They had made incredible progress with the practical stuff: debt reduction, income growth, saving systems. But something weird kept happening. They'd sabotaged themselves in small but significant ways. One Friday evening, Maya stared at an overdue invoice for her largest client. Despite needing the cash, her finger hovered over the send button for 20 minutes before she closed her laptop without sending it. That same night, James impulsively spent $300 on concert tickets for friends after getting a small promotion, despite his budget clearly showing he couldn't afford it. These weren't willpower failures. They were running into money scripts. These deeply embedded, unconscious beliefs about money automatically influence every financial decision without you realizing it. When I discovered that my avoidance behaviors weren't character flaws, but programmed responses, it was like having someone finally turn on the lights in a dark room I'd been stumbling around in my whole life. Maya shared. These scripts get installed in childhood, usually before age 7, and often contradict what we consciously want as adults. Maya and James completed a money belief inventory that revealed these hidden scripts with shocking results. Maya scored off the charts for money avoidance and financial unworthiness. Her core money script was, "I don't deserve financial success." This explained why she'd unconsciously sabotage herself whenever things started going well. James's inventory revealed extreme money status scripts combined with money vigilance. His core belief system treated money as a scorecard for personal value, but also viewed enjoyment of money as somewhat immoral. The breakthrough came when they traced these scripts back to their sources. Maya's sessions with a financial therapist revealed that her script stemmed from growing up with a mother who struggled financially after her father left. She'd internalized the message that financial success would somehow make her different from her mother, a form of unconscious family disloyalty. I realized I was literally rejecting money to stay psychologically connected to my mom, Maya explained. Once I saw that pattern, I could separate my adult financial choices from my childhood need for belonging. James's money scripts came from his parents, who maintained an expensive lifestyle that projected success while secretly drowning in debt. He'd absorbed their conflicting messages, that visible financial success determined social value, but enjoying money was somehow wrong. I was playing out my parents' exact pattern, James admitted, making good money but never feeling I could enjoy it, while simultaneously spending on status symbols I didn't even want. With their money scripts identified, Maya and James began financial identity reconstruction, replacing outdated beliefs with healthier ones that supported their goals. They started with daily money mantras, evidence-based statements that directly countered their specific scripts. Maya's became, "My financial success creates more capacity to support others, not less," addressing her fear that success would separate her from loved ones. James worked with, money is a tool for creating freedom, not a measure of my worth. The real magic happened when they created script-breaking experiments, small financial actions that challenged their limiting beliefs while building evidence for their new identity. Maya tackled her avoidance by scheduling money power hours where she'd handle financial tasks she typically avoided. During one pivotal session, she sent 5 overdue invoices and set up automatic billing for future clients. To counter her unworthiness script, she concluded by writing down how her improving finances had positively impacted others. I realized my old story was completely backward, she said. My financial strength was actually letting me be more generous, not less. James designed experiments separating spending from status. His breakthrough came when he purchased a quality coffee maker he genuinely wanted without telling anyone or posting on social media. This broke his association between spending and external validation. For the first time, I'm making financial choices for me, not for how they'll be perceived, James noted. It's like I fired the audience I'd been performing for. They both implemented financial visualization reconstruction. Research shows our brains can't easily remove a belief without replacing it with something stronger. Maya visualized herself confidently checking accounts daily and negotiating rates without apology. James imagined making purchasing decisions based on personal enjoyment rather than status and feeling peaceful about investments rather than anxious. The results were profound. Within weeks, both saw behavioral changes their previous willpower-based approaches never achieved. Maya naturally raised her rates and enforced payment terms without anxiety. James stopped making impulsive status purchases and genuinely enjoyed watching his savings grow. The weirdest part was how effortless it felt once my brain had new programming, Maya shared. I wasn't fighting myself anymore. My conscious goals and unconscious beliefs were finally aligned. Your 6-month roadmap to financial freedom. That mental shift was just one piece of the puzzle that finally unlocked financial progress for Maya and James. But here's the shocking truth about financial transformation. The steps themselves aren't actually complicated or mysterious. So why do most people never escape the paycheck-to-paycheck cycle? They're missing the structured roadmap that connects mindset work with tactical action in the right sequence. The exact 6-month system I'm about to break down for you. Before diving in, let me address the most common objections I hear. I don't make enough for this to work. This system works with incomes from $2,500 to $12,500 monthly because it's percentage-based, not dollar-based. My situation is too unique. After thousands of clients, I've yet to find a financial situation that doesn't respond to these core principles. I don't have time. The initial setup takes about 3 to 4 hours, spread across a month, then just 20 minutes weekly. Let's break down month 1, week by week. Week 1 is your financial reality assessment, the truth bomb week. You'll catalog every account, debt, and expense using our financial snapshot template. Week 2 introduces expense tracking, recording every transaction. By week 3, you'll conduct your emotional spending trigger analysis, identifying which situations or emotions trigger financial self-sabotage. Week 4 concludes with financial goal setting using the SMART framework with our twist. Goals must be both numerically precise and emotionally compelling. The first month was definitely the hardest, Maya admitted. Looking at my real numbers made me want to throw up, but you can't fix what you don't face. With this honest foundation established, months 2 to 3 shift to aggressive tactical implementation. Week 5 starts with debt strategy selection, choosing between the Snowball method or Avalanche method based on your personality. Week 6 introduces bill negotiation scripts, templates for reducing expenses from credit card interest to subscriptions. Week 7 focuses on income optimization techniques, including our value-based pricing calculator for freelancers and hidden skills inventory for salary workers. Weeks 8 to 12 cover building your automation infrastructure. One powerful tool here is the transfer trigger system. It removes willpower from financial decisions. For example, when Maya received her $3,000 monthly paycheck, the system automatically routed 15% to debt payoff and 10% to savings before she could even think about spending it. This simple automation helped her save $450 monthly without feeling the pinch. As these tactical systems strengthen their financial foundation, months 4 to 5 pivoted toward building wealth. Weeks 13 to 16 cover emergency fund building strategies, including our counterintuitive savings accelerator, a technique that increases savings while feeling less restrictive than traditional budgeting. What makes this approach different? You'll have to wait until we cover it fully in the complete program. Weeks 17 to 20 walk through investment account setup and selection, with platform recommendations based on your risk assessment. We'll cover specific index funds for beginners and automating contributions even with inconsistent income. This phase also introduces passive income foundations, practical first steps toward building income that doesn't require active time. The investment part scared me the most, James shared, but breaking it down into weekly baby steps made it feel doable. Now my money's actually working instead of just sitting there. With the wealth building engine running smoothly, month 6 focuses on creating sustainability. Weeks 21 to 22 cover habit anchoring, where you'll attach financial habits to existing daily routines. Weeks 23-24 implement progress tracking systems, including our celebration milestone framework. The month concludes with accountability mechanism setup, creating external structures that keep you on track when motivation fades. A game-changing tool introduced here is the financial decision filter, a 3-question process. 1. Does this align with my stated financial priorities? 2. Will this purchase still matter in 30 days? 3. Am I making this choice from abundance or scarcity? This filter eliminated over 80% of regretted purchases for both Maya and James. What makes this roadmap different is the integration of psychological rewiring with tactical financial moves. Each week pairs concrete action with mindset practice, creating both immediate results and sustainable change. I've tried budgeting apps before, Maya explained, but this was the first system that actually stuck because it dealt with the emotional stuff alongside the numbers. This framework's flexibility makes it universally applicable. It's worked for teachers making $36,000 and executives earning 6 figures, for single parents and young couples planning home purchases. The principles remain consistent, only the specific numbers change. By following this sequence, you avoid common traps, implementing advanced strategies before building foundations, ignoring psychological barriers, or making changes so restrictive they lead to backsliding. Each month builds upon the previous one, creating a reinforcing cycle. Month 1's awareness fuels months 2 to 3's tactical changes, generating the cash flow needed for months 4 to 5's wealth building, which provides motivation for month 6 and beyond. The results speak for themselves. People have eliminated 5-figure debt, built meaningful savings, launched income streams replacing their jobs, and transformed their relationship with money from anxiety to confidence. So here's the truth bomb we need to drop before wrapping this up. Financial freedom isn't about having a 6-figure salary or winning the lottery. It's about creating a system that handles your money on autopilot while you live your actual life. Maya and James transformed their finances by taking that first step and committing to the process. Their journey shows that consistency beats complexity every time. Here's my challenge to you. Start your own 6-month journey today. Not tomorrow, not next payday, today. Like stepping out of a financial storm into clear skies, your path begins with one decision.